All right. I think we're all set, ready to go. Let me put on the old Mickey Mouse ears. Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today is just what things do you guys see as the most pressing right now? To some, I think they would immediately say the virus. I don't know that that's necessarily the most pressing issue for everyone, though. I'd like to know what you guys think. Not enough anime titties. Well, that's always the case, Mr. Badlands. No matter how many there are, there's never enough. And Haroon is here, and Egg, and Chimera Yuri. I finally said your screen name, pronounced it right on the first try. Johnny Boy is here. John Hand, Spazdev, is Louis, Krusty Bomb, Jordan, and Wolverine. I did hear about the Alaskan earthquake, Jordan. 8.1, I think it was. That's a significant one. At least there was no tsunami from it. Holy crap. Yeah, that was... that's a significant earthquake. Aiden's in. He says, perfect, man, watching Curtis, and I just got my wings stopped. Oh, and he got wings. That's become Spaz Kid's thing, is wings. He's just become a freak for them. And he never used to eat them. Let's see. Madman says accomplishing some kind of damn unity in this country. It's funny you say that because, well, I don't know if it's haha funny, but it's coincidental that you say that because that's the whole inspiration behind the whole Curtis 2024 thing is I don't think with what we have in front of us as far as potential candidates for president, it's not the vitriol and the side taking isn't going to subside. I can't think. I mean, can any of you guys? I know a lot of you guys follow politics. Can you think of any candidate where you can say, "Oh yeah, that's the person. That's the person that's going to resist the extremists on their side and work towards a means of governing that is fair for everyone." I don't know of any. And I'd be happy to say it if I did, but I don't see it happening. Chimerieri says, we need to find a cure for the ego. Every problem we have is because people are afraid to not look strong. I think that's true a lot. I think when we talk about the foibles of both Trump and Biden, I've always said that was issue number one for Trump because the ego was the overarching part of his personality that led to all the more unlikable characteristics of him, led to a lot of the, let's say, lack of a better word, stupid things he said or did. And this is coming from somebody who voted for him. I don't make that a secret. As far as a person, I've never liked him. It was just policy-wise, there was no choice for me other than to vote for him. But as far as he would still be president, I believe, if his ego wasn't completely out of control. And that's the reason, that is my main fear in him ever regaining the presidency, is that out of control ego. Jordan says, hell no, all politicians are pure shit and don't give a fuck about the American people. Well, you know what I wonder too, Jordan? I mean, is it even possible in the current situation, is it possible to become a politician of such repute on the national level that you're a legitimate presidential candidate? Is it possible to do that without being in debt to certain groups? By that, it could be corporations, even more so special interest groups. I don't think it is it? I don't see how you would do it. How do you get to that level without somebody basically hanging over your head saying, listen, don't forget, you ain't shit without me. So if you don't play ball, you won't be getting our support, our money, our whatever it is in the future. Krusty says, not going to lie, the ego kind of made me love the man's other traits, especially how important it is to the Middle East. If you're a wet towel, nobody's going to respect you or anything you say. But I don't think that's, I think, Krusty, for me, that what you're saying there conflates ego with strength. You can be strong without having a big ego. My problem with ego is it does things like it doesn't allow you, and this is the most important, It doesn't allow you to admit your mistakes or say you were wrong. If and this is just my opinion, if Donald Trump didn't have such a runaway ego, he would have said, oh hell, way back in 2020, you know what? And this is what I kept waiting for. I don't know why I would wait for it from him. But if he would have said, when I said this was just going to be a flu, not to worry, so on and so forth, I didn't mean to give you guys bad information. With the information that we had so far, that was my hope. That was my thought, that could be the case. And I didn't want people to panic. Now I understand it's something more than that, and we've got something really significant to deal with here. Here's what we're going to do going forward. Had he done that, I would bet you he's still president. But it's his ego that won't allow him to not do it. It's also his ego that allows him to get involved in trivial pissing matches that really don't mean anything. I mean, I don't think any politician, again, as you say, I want politicians to be strong of character. So if they're attacked, I expect them to lash back. I don't have a problem with that. But it's the ego that doesn't allow him to choose his battles wisely. Yes, Behemoth. Let's see. Special Olympics says, I always say about politics, policy over personality. That's what I had to do with in voting for Trump. Special Olympics, same thing. Because it was personality. Personality-wise, I like Obama better than him. Personality-wise, I like Biden better than him. I'm not as high on the current Joe Biden because I think he has some issues. But again, that's just my opinion. But personality-wise, yeah, he would have been my last choice. Josh says, a concern I do have is Social Security. That's a legit concern. I have a mild mental disability and I'm SSDI. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I got something popping up here on my computer. What the hell is this? Get out of here. What is this garbage that's... Oh. Man, these pop-ups from Windows are starting to piss me off. SSDI. All the talk about Social Security running out makes me a little paranoid. Josh, the only thing I can say there is I don't think we can't afford to let Social Security run out. We just cannot. It would devastate the country. It would bring it to its knees. And this is another one of the reasons that inspires some dope like me to run. Why? There shouldn't be a shortage in SSI at all. Do you know how much money has been poured into that Social Security system? I mean, it was my generation, the boomers, and we're called the boomers because there was a population boom. Given that, and this was all put in place as we came of age, we've been paying into that system forever. And this isn't pitting the generations against one another. I'm talking finances. Because there were so many of us, if that money was handled properly at all, there'd be plenty right now. Plenty. The concern you would think, if there was any, would be in upcoming generations where you didn't have as big a number of new people putting in. But there should be plenty of money here. But there isn't. Know why? Because our politicians fucked it up on both sides. Because they took from it. They had no right putting their grubby ass little fingers into it, and they did. And they destroyed the system. Jordan says, I really like Bernie Sanders. Not the man. I don't like him, his policy-wise at all, Jordan. And again, that goes back to the number one thing I will describe about my views as far as, the big umbrella, the overarching views, is I don't think it's ever a good idea to give more of your money to the government and expect them to handle it efficiently, just like we're talking about with Social Security, and distribute it back to you. And that's what most everything Bernie does is based on. I think it's a horrible idea to give government that kind of control. They've never demonstrated they can handle it effectively. Fuck off, Jane. They've never demonstrated they can handle it effectively, and I have no reason to believe that they would handle it effectively. I believe government should, and again, I'm not one of these, I don't want to make it seem like I'm not one of these hardcore anti-government people, get out of our life. The government has its place. The government, as I've said, should be the ultimate referee. They should be out there to make sure the playing field is level for everybody. And we don't do that. It seems like we either have extremes where you got some people who only want I shouldn't say only, that's unfair, who want the successful to be placated and to get everything that they want. And then you have another sector of society that just wants government to be mommy and daddy. And you suck on mama government's teat for everything you want. And both are poor choices. The government should be there to make sure that everybody, I've maybe it's hokey, but I always grew up with this whole concept of an American dream being a real tangible thing, and something that I think when it's working makes this country exceptional above all others. And the way we do that is to make everybody have that dream accessible to them if they want to work for it. I'm not one in guaranteeing results. I'm somebody who wants to guarantee opportunity. Let's see. Lil says, my biggest concern is working a job I don't enjoy 5 days a week for 50 more years. Well, Lil, I don't know what to say other than, do you feel like the job that you're in, that you obviously don't enjoy, do you feel like there's nothing in your future that you could come to that you would enjoy more? I mean, a job change that you could make along the way? Because the only reason I ask that is I've had jobs I hated, and it sucks. I agree with you completely. It sucks to go to a job you hate every day. But because I hated it, I was always on the lookout. And again, I'm just a regular working schlub. That was my whole life, until I found the job I wanted. I was like 31, 32. I went to work for a local municipality, and I realized, hey, this is what I like doing. And it's a job. You don't like it every day. Some days sucked. But overall, I knew this was something I could be content with. I liked the benefits. The money was good enough. And I liked what I was doing a great deal of the time. But it was a long and winding road getting there. I had a lot of jobs I didn't care for. So, I mean, I don't understand your circumstance if there's something different about it, but that would be my advice. There's always something else out there, especially right now. Holy shit, everybody's hiring right now. This is a great time. If you have a specific career you want to get your foot into, or a specific job that you've always wanted to try out, this is the time to do it, because pretty much everybody's hiring. Yes, that's true. Erlon says it depends on your location, which really sucks. That's true. To a degree. I mean, then again, it becomes now again, I'm talking to you as young people. This, once you get to be my age, well, I'm not looking for a job anyway, but once you start getting established with a family and kids, moving around obviously gets very complicated. If you guys are younger, and you're right, you should be putting a priority on what you want to do with your life as far as your job. If it involves a move, I say go for it. Make the move. Get to where you like what you're doing every day. There's something to really be said for that. Jordan says, this is exactly why I'm moving to Arizona, to become a maintenance or HVAC technician. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, most of you guys are young, and I couldn't encourage that more. I did that. I moved. That's how I lived so many places. I moved all around the country, when I was younger, looking for where I wanted to be, basically. And it's just like my job situation. I started out like a lot of people doing fast food and pay shit. So I'd work 2 fast food jobs. And I mean, the brief rundown was then I was able to eventually get a job at a home improvement place. It was called Allwoods down in the southwest of New Mexico. It was like a precursor to Home Depot and Lowe's and all that, taken off. But while I was there, not only did it pay a little more, but they were willing to let me take a driving test for a commercial license. It wasn't CDL at the time. It was state run then. So I could drive truck. Now, once I had that license, that started opening up more opportunities for me, because now I had the license and I had a good work record. Every place I went, the employers liked me. I showed up every day. I did as good a job as I could. I ended up working in a factory for a while because it was just much better money and better benefits. And then I ended up driving, and that was the career path I chose throughout. And then eventually ended up driving for a local municipality, which I stayed with as my career because the benefits were just so good. Yeah, there are jobs that are territorial, Oscar. Like I say, if you're not sure what you want to do, it's tougher. But and again, I apologize. I forgot who it was that mentioned. Let me find it here. See if I can find it here. Jordan. Jordan said he knows that what industry he wants to work in, so he's going to relocate to find that industry. I think that's the move. It's very important to, as much as possible, be in a job that you prefer. No, no matter what you do for a living, guys, there's going to be days where the job sucks. That's why they're called work. I mean, but just like what I ended up with, there were a lot of days my job sucked. I didn't feel like going in, but for the most part, it was a cool job. I liked most of the people I worked with. I liked the work I was doing. I liked driving. I liked getting out and getting physical too. Whether it was not always in the dead of winter in upstate New York when we were working on a water break and you're standing in a couple feet of rushing cold water, it wasn't so fun. But again, every job's going to have its up and downs. Let's see. Mistress says, Blizzard and the gaming industry as a whole, it's been going on for decades in other industries too. We have to find a way, if we can't eliminate it fully, at least minimize it. Yeah, what the hell's wrong with Blizzard? Well, I mean, if even a portion of what is alleged to have been going on there is true, and at this point you would think there is you would think that a portion of it's got to be true, just considering how many incidents they're dealing with. That just blows my mind. Why are people treating one another like that? This isn't, and I'll be the first to tell you, sometimes we overreact to things. The people behind the Me Too movement damaged it almost irreparably by going too far the other extreme. Things like taking it to where it was no longer make sure all women are heard. It's like castrate all men who are accused of anything, as if, the other side can do no wrong. But that's not a case of this. The things they're doing are just blatantly, or accused of doing, are blatantly, egregiously horrific in the workplace. Jesus. Yeah, I have no use for Blizzard. Big Green says, what isn't wrong with Blizzard? Good point. And Chrome says, we got some updates on the Blizzard situation. They're removing references to what happened in World of Warcraft, also banning comments about it in World of Warcraft. How scummy a move is that? Well, let's see. Do we take ownership that some things were wrong and try and move forward as a company much better and brighter? Or do we just pretend it never happened? Yeah, let's go with that second thing. Philip says, my biggest concern is that everyone these days seems to have a persecution complex. That just hit me today before I came on here. I don't disagree with that entirely, Philip. Yeah, there is, and I try and be fair whenever I make a generalization about any specific age category or what generation, whatever you want to say. But, and it's, again, social media is the impetus of this. There are a lot of people I've noticed more now than ever. And again, it's obvious why, because of the availability of social media. But people feel really, as Philip says, persecuted or taken advantage of or beaten down over some of life's mundane things that we all endure. Life, it doesn't matter what you do in life. It doesn't matter where you are, what you do for a living, who your family is. Life is going to have ups and downs for everybody. And sometimes it's going to be unfair. And sometimes it's going to be the shits. Now, we work wherever we can to remove any blatant unfairness, but you have to be able to get over things. You have to be able to compartmentalize things and say, okay, this sucks, but it's something I expected to deal with at some point in my life. Now let's get past it. And a lot of people seem to have real difficulty in doing that. And it only hurts themselves. Z-Man says, just started a job with Mass Tech where the jobs are installing doorbells to mounting TVs to security systems for AT&T for hands-on worker. Love it. See, there you go. That's a good example. Just like what Z-Man's saying now. I don't imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, Z-Man, I don't imagine Z-Man has spent his entire life growing up thinking, that's what I want to do. I want to install these systems when I get older. It doesn't have to have been a lifelong dream. Sometimes it's just what you find in life. And again, similar to the way I did. You're working at one job You know you don't like it, so you're looking out for something better. Even if it's, even if the money's the same, but a lot of times when you're starting out, you can always increase in what you make because at least you have a work history as you go. And then hopefully, in the best of all situations, you get into something like Z-Man did here where, he's found a job now that not only is paying his bills, but he's like, yeah, I like doing this. And that's all you can ask out of life from a job. Aiden says, oh my God, it must be horrible to work on a pipe in upstate New York and have cold rushing water on you. It was terrible, Aiden. I know what that feels like, and I have a house up there, and it's bad fixing things in the wet and cold. Oh, it's terrible. We would have, because, you get a water break in the winter, and once you dig down, I work for, like I said, a local city. Once you dig down to the point of the break, what happens here is because infrastructure does need extensive repair in this country, but especially in the Northeast or any cold climates, what happens is because of the drastic temperature changes every year and the ground shifting, it beats the shit out of the infrastructure, meaning the water lines, things like of that nature. Plus, the infrastructure here is so old, a lot of the old lines are made of clay. They didn't have modern equipment. So what would happen is you would dig down, you'd find this break, but because the infrastructure is so old, a lot of times the valves would either not work or wouldn't work fully. Because typically you find the break, you shut the corresponding valves and you fix it, but that's not how it goes most of the time. So you would end up trying to fix it as that freezing cold water was filling the hole that you were working in and spraying all over you. That used to be fun. That was a real good time. And even then, I mean, it was one of those things that it sucked, but it was like, okay, this is part of the job. Let's get it over with, and we try to make the best of it. Michael says, really getting tired of victim mentality. I think a lot of people are. And you know what I think? When you have that penchant for feeling that you're the victim or playing the victim all the time, it tends to almost lessen people's responses when someone really has been victimized. It's, like the old boy who cried wolf type thing. And it is unfortunate. I mean, there's a significant number of people, and I can't, you can't even blame it on one generation. I know people in my generation who are like that. There's just become such a significant number of people who, whenever anything goes wrong in life, they feel victimized. And it's like, nah, sometimes life just sucks. I mean, sometimes circumstance is going to come up and bite you in the ass, and you got to get through it. I don't know. Philip says, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a mad scientist. I like that. Or sheriff. Big fan of Woody as a kid. Or play hockey in the winter. Pitch for the Blue Jays in the spring and summer. I was an overachiever as a kid. Yeah, Philip. Mine were mostly sports related. When it came to that, I was going to be pitching for the Pittsburgh Pirates, which, if any of you follow baseball and look at their current standings, I might be eligible to do that right now. Because you really can't do any worse. When you lose every day, how can I be worse? But I was going to pitch for the Pittsburgh Pirates, or I was going to be, back then, the WWF champion. It's WWE now. And I can't complain. I mean, I got to have a wrestling career that I really enjoyed, and I made the conscious decision many years ago that I wasn't going to try and make it in the big time because of all the travel and everything, so I can't complain. But I get you. I remember so distinctly just sitting around and dreaming those dreams of grandeur. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to think about. It really is. Just to think back on, I should say. No, we're not, Mister. We're not talking about Blizzard. We're talking about victim mentality in general. She says this is not about victim mentality, though. We're still talking about Blizzard. No, not at all. In general, then sure, it will depend on what it is. No, we're talking about the general feeling of victimhood that a lot of people have. No, we discussed the Blizzard situation, and that's abysmal. And I actually made the specific delineation that this is not some sort of overreaction. This is workplace activity that is just beyond the pale. Lud says, favorite thing I heard about Blizzard situation. Apparently a crap ton of journalists are saying it's been a thing for a while and are glad the secret's out. So they knew all along and said nothing. Yeah, why would you keep that to yourself? Yeah, how could... That's really weird. You're right. If you're in a media, you're a media representative, why would you be saying, boy, I'm glad that got out? You're in charge of getting that out. Wow. Jeez. Josh says, what are your thoughts on the way inflation is right now, and how would you handle it differently if you had the chance to tackle it? I like questions like this. Josh, I think I had, well, not just think, I had said it. You had to figure coming out of the pandemic, and now, of course, we're having another spike here. But as we're hopefully getting towards the end game with the pandemic, the economy was going to react somewhat inflationary, just because of everybody being back out again and companies scrambling to try and make back some of the money that they had lost through lost business, so on and so forth. I do think that some of Biden and the Democrats' grandiose plans are too extravagant right now. I think the last thing we could, and again, look, it'd be great. It would be awesome just to be able to pay for anything we want. And we've been printing extra money for way too long now. It's going to bite us in the ass. So we're in a tough situation to begin with. What I would be doing is, and this is the big thing to me. This is just the general way I look at things. Is as president, it would be nice if you actually had a president that was honest with you every single day about everything. Didn't feel like you needed to be treated with kid gloves. Like you know, the population can't handle hearing this, can't handle hearing that. I'd be telling people, look, this is going to be tough. Getting this economy back post-pandemic, hopefully we can put this in the rearview mirror, is going to be tough. And I'd be looking to pinch pennies any place I could that doesn't affect the day-to-day lives of Americans. That's why I always said it's almost like become taboo to say America first. I believe in America first, but I don't believe in America only. I think we need to take care of our own first, and we still need to be a good neighbor to the rest of the world. But I would be telling the rest of the world, listen, we have got to get our own economy on track, and we've got a lot of people in our nation suffering. I have a budget I have to deal with. I have X amount of dollars. Those dollars are staying within this country unless it's something absolutely ultra emergency or will somehow affect our way of life or our security. But we're not, there's a lot of money being sent out internationally that at least for the time being would be cut off and would be put into taking care of the people in this nation. And I could give you specifics, but I'd have to look it back up again. You know, there are places you can go and see where all of our budget is, our economy's budget is delegated. But trust me, there's too much money in these current times going out to improve the lives of people outside of our own borders. Arthur says, have you ever had a topic that is so close to home and so important to you that you're afraid to admit you might be wrong on it? I've run into that. Sure. I think, Arthur, anybody that's honest with themselves can look at something and say, yeah, that's so close to me, I really am not taking a fair perspective on it. I think it's an admirable thing to do, to be able to look at yourself and your own views and perspectives that way. But yes, I've done that. I do that now sometimes, and I have to readjust how I look at something. Z-Man says, you feel COVID regulation is government control on us? Well, if you're saying, do I think COVID regulation is designed to be government control? No. Do I think that some portions of government are going too far? Yes. I think the government at all levels, national, state, has just fumbled this profusely. CDC, nobody has handled this particularly well. And right now people are grasping for solutions, and there aren't any easy solutions. The one thing that I'm finding concerning now with them talking about bringing back the mask mandates for indoors and everything, you see so many people talking online, again, social media sites, so on and so forth, and you have the anti-maskers, but the people that are pro-mask too are putting way too much stock in those masks. The mask, I have no doubt the mask can help somewhat. I think their help is really a small percentage. And the best way I can base this is, you got to remember, guys, when the second wave hit, when the first wave of COVID hit, none of us knew what the hell was going on. So, of course, I mean, we'd never experienced anything like this. Nobody was wearing a mask. Nobody was social distancing. And the wave came through and got us. When that second wave hit was the pinnacle of time when people were masking. Now, not everybody was doing it, but a huge, significant number of people were masking up, were social distancing, were not being out and about any more than necessary. And particularly when you consider that second wave hit as there started to be a light at the end of the tunnel, where they were, the vaccine was on its way. It wasn't out yet, but we knew they were on their way. So there was a really significant number of people doing all the right things, and that second wave dwarfed the first wave. It's only limited what the masks can accomplish. And just as bad as people who just want to pretend that this COVID thing is a hoax and doesn't exist are the people that think just wearing a mask is going to actually, some people seem to think it's a complete impenetrable shield, and it is not. And I don't think it's going to make a big difference in how far the second wave goes. The only thing I can say is just my opinion. I could be wrong. I do think you're going to see the second wave cresting within a couple weeks or so, just based on numbers. The number of people that are vaccinated, we know that, yes, you can have breakthroughs and you can still get especially this Delta variant. But because the symptoms are lesser, it is still less likely for them to get it. And so many people have already had it. And after you've had COVID, once you've had it and have moved a few weeks away from having had it, you have significant barriers against reinfection. So I think you're going to see it, and I hope I'm right, but again, could be wrong. I think you got a couple, 3 more weeks, and you're going to have seen the crest, and it'll start moving back down again. John says, show full design TV or not with full screen. I always like that comment. This is my boy Hedon. You guys know what a nut I am for Hedon. Hedon's the man. Yeah, listen. If I ever could be a religious person, I would have to go right to Hedon and Joshianism, just because it's Hedon. Michael says, I have a bad feeling this is being used to make the next generation lazy and used to government handouts. I grew up taking care of my single mom and brother since my teens. It was either work or, yeah, I'm pretty sure I know what's work or starve. What's coming next, Michael? Yeah, I don't think it's a plan. I think it's having that effect, though. I don't think it's good, and this is the basis of most everything you'll hear from me as far as platforms. It's not good to be overly reliant on the government. You do not want to be relying on them for things. You just don't. And the system is always going to work better, more efficiently, and certainly more economically feasible when you have a solid, fair playing field out and about in the community. That means no more babying the major corporations. It's even more than making them pay their fair share. I have plans in mind which will mean that if you're working for these any company, they're going to have to help take care of their employees. In doing so, they're probably going to have to raise their prices somewhat. They are, because it's going to cost them more to employ. We're willing to accept that because you're in a competitive field. If all these companies have to play by the same rules, as I've told you, Walmart and Amazon start putting pressure on the insurance companies, who in turn put pressure on the drug manufacturers, the pharmaceutical companies. You want them having to pressure one another. That's how you use that open competition to make sure that us, the regular people, are getting the best possible deal. And I just don't think you get a good deal by telling the government, okay, well, we'll just give you the money. You tell us how much you need and you provide for us. That's not going to work. It never has and it never will. Z-Man says, so what about those who felt they were really contributing just to go back to step one, all that team effort for a reset? I don't think we're all the way back to step one, Z-Man. My personal opinion is, from, again, what I've seen from mask wearing, it's a really weird thing. I think by bringing back mask mandates, I think the effect it's going to have on this particular wave is going to be statistically insignificant as opposed to if you didn't bring back a mask mandate. And the reason that's important is because I think you do more ill will in bringing it back than you create life-saving opportunity by putting it in place. Because now you've got I think you just took a whole bunch of people who were vaccine hesitant and maybe would have come around to it and are saying, no, I'm not getting it now. You just told me the vaccine doesn't work. You're telling me all these vaccinated people have to wear masks now too. I'm not getting it. I think that's exactly what you've done. Everything, fuck off train, has to be a risk-reward consideration. I don't think the reward you get for having people go back to masks, the vaccinated people especially go back to masks, is worth the risk you're taking in really compounding your vaccine hesitancy. So that's why I think they're making a big mistake, and that's why I think it's unfortunate that the CDC has just been so all over the place. And in the Curtis administration, I mean, I'm certainly no doctor at all, but before this, when the CDC makes these decrees, there would be a representative in my office explaining to me why I'm wrong about that. Why was bringing a mask mandate better at the risk of alienating so many people? Because that's what I'd really want to know. I would really want to know. As a matter of fact, you guys brought some up. A lot of the same folks are in here I've seen. You guys brought up a good point the other day. And remember the tornado interrupted stream? We're talking about the mask mandates then. And what I want to get to is what it came down to, because you guys made some good points. I'm saying you need to let the virus propagate as is, get to as many people as possible, and help us get to herd immunity. The counter to that was a lot of you were saying, no, we've got to do everything we can, whether it's masks or whatever, to try and stop the spread because the virus is going to mutate. That's what I'm concerned with, is mutation. So let me ask you guys this, for any of you who are really into it. My thought process is the mutations are a race against time more than number of infection. In other words, I think if you allow the virus to propagate, because we do know that once you get it, again, right in the immediacy after having it, because everybody goes, no, you can get reinfected. Yes, you can. But the further you get away from having had the virus, we know for a fact the more potent your antibodies are. And when you get several weeks away, it's like 90% against you getting it again. So I think you're better off to allow it to propagate, let people who don't want to get the vaccine get the natural immunity, than actually trying to stop it from propagating now, which I don't believe you can, and slowing it up and making it last longer. I think if it's out there longer, even in smaller numbers, to me that would seem that you're giving it more of an opportunity to continue coming up with new variants. No? Yes? What do you guys think? Z-Man says, at the end, it's going to kill who it's going to kill. Life goes on. No, I don't think we can be quite that flippant about it, Z-Man. I do think, though, with the vaccine, I mean, everybody's had the availability to get it and have had for some time. That's why I say I don't think there's much more we can do. And masks are, again, statistically, I'm not basing this on my own opinion. I'm basing it on statistics I see. Statistically, I don't think the masks help that much. That's why I think you're better off to let it propagate and hopefully get past it. But at this point, you're right. I mean, if people don't want to get the vaccine, that's their business. I'm not casting dispersions at you, but what can we do? You know, if somebody doesn't want to get the vaccine and they get the virus, it's like, it sucks for them, but what do you want us to say? You know, it's free. You could have gotten it if you wanted it. Solar says, while the virus is a low death percentage, overall like 2% or a shitload of people, it's still a shitload of people. Right. They should prevent it and make sure everyone gets the vaccine, in my opinion, Curtis. Okay, but now, Solaris, what you're saying there, now that's where you get into the touchy ground. Make sure everyone gets the vaccine. We've made sure that everyone has availability of the vaccine. Are you saying that you are for telling people that government mandating that you get that vaccine? Because I'm not sure that you can even do that. And if you do, again, risk reward, I fear that the pushback on that would become violent. That would be my fear. So if you're saying everybody, you know, the government coming out and saying, guess what, we're coming to your house and we're sticking this vaccine in your arm. I don't know about that. That's where I am, Jake. Jake says, let's infect everyone and cause the virus to die out. That's what I'm hoping for. And I just think by prolonging it, I think you're giving it, my personal opinion, I think you're giving it more chances to mutate. I could be wrong on that. That just seems to be the logic to me. Chrome says, at this point, there's nothing you can really do. I agree with that, too. The virus has already mutated in many strains. The vaccine will only be temporarily effective. Just pray it becomes non-lethal and not plague-like. Yeah, and so far, even including Delta, we do know that the vaccines are doing a pretty decent job. Yes, even if you got reinfected, it's a very, very small percentage of people that have gotten infected after having the vaccine and gotten sick. And most of them, again, fall into those comorbidities situations. It's mainly older people and people that were not in good health, which still sucks. I mean, it's not to belittle what's happening to them, but like Chrome says, until we get a lot of people with antibodies, whether they got it from a shot or got it from having the virus, it's going to continue. Let's see. Kaiser says there can be legit issues that does make work difficult. With a job I did, I couldn't do data. I'm sorry, pal. It just dropped down on me. Okay. Couldn't do database entries because I had difficulty learning and understanding joint handwriting. Yeah, I think, Kaiser, I think that's true. You know, that's why it's so important to have to be able to pick out a job that suits you. Because, yeah, obviously, in life in general, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. And the best of all possible situations is when you can match up your strengths to your career path. Yeah, no, I agree. I understand that. Michael says, government mandated mark of the beast. Then Nancy Pelosi already working on a digital currency chip. Imagine that being forced on us. Yeah. And again, you guys know I'm not only I was pro-vaccine right from when I read about mRNA vaccines, because I'm kind of a nerd for things like that, and I thought it was cool as hell. I mean, not that I wanted the virus to be here, but given that it was, I knew I was getting one. So I told my wife, I said, listen, even if Johnson & Johnson is the first, if Johnson & Johnson is the first one to come through, we're waiting. I want us to have the mRNA one. So this is said as somebody who is vaccinated. I'll get a booster shot if they say I need it too. But that said, I don't think you can go into an area where you're telling people you have to allow us to put this chemical in your body. Now, can private companies get to a point, especially as this goes on, where they're saying, okay, if you don't show proof of vaccination, we don't want you doing business in our place of business? Sure, they can. They have every right to do that. Excuse me. Snack says, funny thing is the virus contains a spike protein that does not occur naturally and has been tied directly to WIV NIAID research grants. Fauci lied twice saying he didn't fund gain of function. Well, I haven't read anything, Snake, that has guaranteed that it doesn't occur naturally. I haven't. I have read that hypothesized. I won't say yes or no either way because I haven't kept up on it. But do I think that there is some serious concerns around Fauci and his connection to that Wuhan lab? Yeah. Yeah, that's very concerning to me. Extremely concerning to me. But I haven't seen that. I'm not going to say you're wrong because something could have come out that I missed. But I know that has been theorized. I don't know that that's been factualized. Chrome says the biggest risk the vaccines has is if a new strain causes the vaccine's antibodies to go into overtime and start attacking the host body Spanish flu style. But that's a slim chance, right? It's funny you brought that up, Chrome. I just read an article that was discussing that earlier, and Chrome's right on the money with what this epidemiologist or virologist said as well. That's what you're terrified of. The odds against it are very significant. But the way our luck has been running lately when it comes to this virus, who knows? But yeah, it's funny you say. I just read an article about that. It was either last night or during the day today. Excuse me. Barry says, speaking of vaccines, New York City will start paying people $100 if they get the first dose of the vaccine and another $50 when they get the second. All I got for getting mine was a plain brown Band-Aid. What the fuck? Yeah, I can see a lot of people being annoyed by that. I think it sucks that we have to do it. I'm not annoyed by it because, again, I wanted to get the vaccine because I am very comfortable with the protection it offers. I read up on it as best I could, and with my layman's understanding of such things, I felt very comfortable in getting the vaccine and having my family get it. So I don't care that they're giving some people a few bones for getting it who are hesitant, but I can certainly understand where that would piss some people off, especially if you were hesitant and then you felt like, okay, I've got to do it for the greater good. And it's like, yeah, okay, well, thanks for getting that. Now the next person in line, we're going to give you $150 for doing it. I can see being pissed off. Z-Man says, when I ran a vaccine site, they required New York residents and a job. Is that really fair? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you mean, Z-Man. I'm not following that. When I ran a vaccine site, they required New York residents and a job. Is that really fair and free? You're not supposed. I'm not sure what you're saying there, but there's not supposed to be any restrictions on that. You should be able to walk into any of the drugstores offering it and say, "I want to get the vaccine." That I don't know where you saw that, read that, but that's not the case. Josh says, one thing that could potentially become a problem is that if COVID mutates into a vaccine-resistant variant. Sure, that's what we're all afraid of, Josh. The epidemiologists so far have said that they haven't seen any indications of that, of entire resistance. The concern they have, and unfortunately, and again, this is the CDC's failings, I'm still reading articles about it, but some of the information that the CDC was utilizing in making this latest decree looks like it may be faulty at best. But they are discovering, they believe, that the Delta variant is putting more of a viral load into vaccinated people who contract it. Again, there's plenty of articles out there on it. I'm sure you guys can find them as well. There is some serious doubt about, I guess, this study that the CDC basis on has already been discredited in scientific circles. So it's just another mess. It's just been one mess after another. The WHO and the CDC have not done a good job in any of this. Their messaging has been all over the place. And surprisingly, I think they jump to conclusions many times throughout. And the WHO is useless as far as I'm concerned. The WHO will do what they need to cover for China. HD says, it's so hot in my country, I'm getting cooked. Where are you at, HD? I know we got some significant heat either coming up or even occurring in the country right now. I believe in the Midwest here. It's not hot here. It's storming again. It's raining and cool. You're 100% right with that, Snack. If Fauci cannot designate between gain-of-function research and standard lab testing, he has the wrong job. That's true. Like I say, I have serious concerns about his involvement there. It doesn't smell good at all. Let's see. Chrome says, well, we know Fauci funded the lab. He admitted it, right? It's now a matter of he knew gain of function was being researched. Exactly. That's why I say it's extremely concerning. I haven't heard, again, any verification that there is within the virus itself that there is anything in its makeup that proves it had to have been part of a lab research at some point. That is heavily theorized, but I haven't heard of that being proven yet. If that becomes proven, it's a major problem. Yikes. Barry says here in Philly it's 81, but it feels like 95 because of humidity. That's significant humidity. To go from 81 to a 95 degree heat index, that's got to be just about 100% humidity. Yow. Father Anderson says, oh God, Arizona's hot as hell, like 120 degrees. I know Arizona, they said it gets even hotter now than it used to, but I lived there. I told you guys that just for a few months, but it was in summertime in Phoenix. Yeah, I remember that heat. Holy crap. Chrome says, found out there was a thing called the Cosby Suite at Blizzard. Oh, that can't be good. The perpetrators had a hotel room with Bill Cosby's portrait hung up. We have pics. Also, journalists who knew are profiting from it. If any of this stuff it gets proven in court, which looks like it has a significant chance of doing so, the penalties against Blizzard have to be just insanely harsh. They have to be. That's inexcusable. Yikes. Egadgo says supposed to be 102 here in Northern Cali. Wow. Yeah, I used to live, central Northern California. That's insane. It's weird how it's been so spotty this year. Even I was watching a video, because you guys know we're big Disney nuts, so we watch the live streams, a lot of Disney live streams and stuff. And one of the streamers down there who's lived in that area his whole life said it's been such a bizarre summer. He said because there's typically in that part of Central Florida, in the summer it rains most every day because it gets hot, humid, storms come in, then they move out. Typically you get that rain for like 15 minutes to an hour. Fuck off, Jane. But he said this year had been so different because there's been a lot more days of heavy rains or raining throughout the day, but the heat hasn't been as bad. It's just been weird all around. Wow. Barry says it's so humid I can't even go outside and take a deep breath through my nose without getting a nosebleed because of the dryness. Wow. That's terrible. Ugh. Farhan, I have the exact opposite problem all the time. He says, me, a non-American trying to convert 102 to Celsius to understand how hot it is. Yeah, I do the same thing, vice versa. I'm going through it with the Olympics. I watch Olympic updates now and at one point I had the major conversions, Fahrenheit to Celsius, kilometers to miles, all that. I had it basically memorized approximately, because math is one of the few things I'm good at. So if I know the equation, I can come up with a real good, close to the actual number at any time. I just can never remember the conversion anymore. Yikes. Z-Man says, I trained in Texas with 115. Yeah, I told you guys too, I also used to live in New Mexico, spent a decent amount of time in Texas. And yeah, some of those plains in Texas, holy crap, it would get hot. Yeesh. Parsa says, my country's council, Iran, has just passed a law that blocks our internet from any site not originating from Iran. Even Google is going to be blocked, and we're going to have to get a permit if we want to make an email. It's funny too. It does make, when you hear things like this from Parsa, excuse me, guys, it does make you laugh a little when you then turn around and listen to some of the complaints that Americans have about their way of life here. It makes you think, oh yeah, you got it rough. You have my sympathies. AC says, I'm from Austria and live near the Danube, and the weather is nuts. The Danube almost drowned the town I live in. Wow. That's crazy. That is nuts. See, I'm a believer in climate change. My only question is, and this just comes from my own reading, is man having as much of an effect on it as some scientists want you to believe? I'm always concerned about anybody who stands to profit from something. And when you're talking about pumping hundreds of millions or billions of dollars into programs to help us deal with climate change, and a lot of the scientists who are at the forefront tend to, in related fields, profit by it, I get a little concerned. I've seen some very significant data that's, it's not somebody's opinion, actual data lines that have shown the peaks and valleys of the temperature on this planet, that we could be in a natural uneasiness, a natural section of heating and unpredictable weather that's happened many times in the past. So do I think humans are having an effect on the climate? Yes. Do I think that we are the sole culprit? No. It looks like this is something the planet has gone through before and is going through in currently. I did. Trashcan Senpai says, did you hear about Ben and Jerry's refusing to send any product to Iraq? Ooh. I mean, if they want to do that, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. But it's like, oh, well, Ben and Jerry's just brought about peace in the Middle East now. You can't... if you can't have some chunky monkey, goddammit, you'll get in line. Z-Man says, quick Obamacare thoughts. Don't think it was a terrible plan. I think it wasn't fully fleshed out before it was implemented, and that doomed it. I think it was rushed through. Because any plan that alleviates things for one group and significantly compounds things for another is not a good plan, and that's what Obamacare did. Do I think it could have been reworked to where most everybody could have had some sort of benefit? Yes. But I think then again, the partisanship got it. The Republicans played on the faults of Obamacare to get rid of it. And the Democrats rushed its rollout, wanted to get it, wanted things going while Obama was still in office, and did not attend to the things that were brought up to them that were the failings of it. So I think it could have been way more successful than it was. And again, it's both parties' faults. The Democrats tried to rush it, and the Republicans unjustly vilified it. It was repairable. Hold on, let me catch up here. Going Nowhere says, I always wondered how people live without air conditioning in the past. You and me both, brother. Although as a kid, we never had it. But I lived out in the country, and I can remember, though, I'm somebody, I have to have it cool when I sleep. So I can remember even as a kid having a lot of sleepless nights with just a fan blowing on you, and it's just not enough. Yeah, and I've gotten so spoiled to it now. And I guess from what I'm led to believe, and we've got a lot of folks from Europe here and a lot of folks from the UK specifically, somebody told me that in parts of Europe, and I know it was Italy, and I think it was parts of the UK as well, air conditioning isn't commonplace. Is that true? I remember somebody saying that or writing that. Oh, Chrome says, here's the pic of the Cosby Suite residence. It earned its name according to the reports. Okay, hold on. I got to click on this link. I want to see that. Cosby Suite, where are they now edition? Jeez. If you hit Riot Games, game director was created. So basically, like I said, Riot Games was like one big giant frat house of the absolute douchiest frat you could ever imagine. HD says, do you think we can adapt to the climate change? Depends on how far it goes. I think for a significant number of years, yes, we can. If I'm right, and hopefully I am, if you look at those charts that I'm talking about, we should be on the downside of the severe weather again. If you follow the flow of the chart, if that's the case, yeah, probably. Hopefully. Trash Can Senpai says, "What's your opinion on gun control? Because I'm tired of being asked for my firearms permit whenever I go out with a sleeveless shirt on." Very, very pro Second Amendment. I believe in this country, what we have is not a gun problem as much as a people problem. We have a very violent society here, and I think too much attention is put on the inanimate object used to commit crimes more so than why are the crimes being committed. I don't think you can turn people around who, again, if you're talking a school shooting, if a kid wants to go in and obliterate a lot of his own peers and has no issue with that, they're gone. I mean, up here, there's something just undeniably broken. And I don't think, even if you could somehow make it impossible for them to get a weapon, they will find another means of acting it out. Guns are not even, and I'm not going to be irresponsible enough to list the alternatives, but if you use your imagination a little, guns, if you want to take out a big number of people in a hurry, are not even, I wouldn't put them in the top 3 as best way to accomplish it. I don't think you want people getting more creative. But all that said, do I think there is room for some gun control measures? Yes. I think when you break it away from crime more to events that happen within a family or within groups of acquaintances, yes, I think if you have been convicted of any type of domestic abuse, I think you should. That's a right you would give up. Yes, the Second Amendment guarantees you the right to bear arms, but any right can be stripped because of your actions, and I think that's something you do. I understand, though, also why Second Amendment people are resistant to it, because the people that are promoting it, I don't think are promoting doing those things in good faith. I think they're promoting creating laws like that as a step to finally getting where they want, whereas only the government has guns. So I understand their hesitancy. But no, I think in this nation, unfortunately, with us having as violent an element as we do, it's totally unfair to keep guns out of the hands of people who would want to defend themselves. It's not a gun problem. It's a people problem. We have got a lot of violent people. The idea of killing people because you've disagreed with them or just because you're pissed off, that's a problem up here. Yeah, I'm not even going to read those, Chrome, but yes, you're on the right track. Yeah, they're not. It's just true. If you're thinking about you want to eliminate a bunch of people in a hurry, guns are not particularly a good way of doing it. It's just that is the method that people with that mindset have seen utilized in the past. Trashcan says, just so you know, that was a joke about arm muscles being referred to as guns. I'll also agree with your views. No, I get you, Trashcan. Oh, see, now I thought you were talking about shoulder holster. That's immediately what popped in my mind, but I get what you're saying now, sun's out, guns out. I was thinking shoulder holster because I had a friend of mine that had a concealed carry, and that's what he always carried was a shoulder holster. Yeah, I just, again, I don't think that's the root of our problem. I think the violent people in our society, and whatever reason it is that they are so violent, that's our problem. Kaiser says, so it was confirmed they killed off He-Man in the reboot. This is despite Kevin Smith saying it would be all about He-Man. Then He-Man comes back 4 episodes later only to get lethally injured. Jesus. Mr. Croissant says, what do you think about the feminist extremist kill all men movement? A celebrity recently on Twitter stated that she was either going to have a girl or an abortion. I think that goes into, Mr. Croissant, you guys know what I think about extremists, period. I think they are basically useless to anything productive in society. I think they should just, and I'm talking both sides, the far extremists on both sides should just be chuckled at and ignored. That's what I think. Egad says, remember when the good old days when the Cosby Suite was just the name of the hotel room where Bill Cosby took advantage of you? Yes. We just had a little drinky poo with Bill, yeah. Z-Man, I'm not following. Mr. Croissant comment about federal vaccine. You want me to look for a Mr. Croissant comment? Is that what you're saying? It was him who was talking about the feminist extremists. Hold on, let me see if I can find another. I think that's what he meant. He wanted me to look at. Oh, okay, yeah. Mr. Croissant said thoughts on Biden's appeal to make vaccination requirement for all federal workers. It's a tough one because now in a private company, I have no problem with a private company saying if you want to work here, you have to get the vaccine because it is their company. Now you could say, okay, here's the same thing because Biden is the boss of federal employees. So he's just doing the same thing that a boss would be doing in the private sector, and that's true. However, because he's the boss and he is the boss due to his political standing, I don't know if I'm comfortable with it. It's weird. I know it's a double standard, but again, once you start making it political, all I can say is I don't know how it would do in courts, if it would stand or not. In the Curtis administration, I would not be looking to impose it. I would be doing everything I could to encourage in every way, shape, and form to get all our federal employees immunized. I would not be willing to make that decree. Spaz Deal says, will you finally send all the women back to the kitchen, please? I can't even jokingly say yes to that. Listen, my wife is not even 5 foot tall, and I'm scared of her to say something like that. It would be just the one time in a million she happens to tune into a stream. Mr. Croissant said, yeah, I forgot her name, but she seemed serious about her statement, and it's scary. What's even scarier is that a ton of women and some men were on board with the idea. Yeah, it's, again, my personal opinion, Mr. Croissant, people that go to those extremes are useless. And I will tell you that again, as president. This whole thing takes off and I get elected. It's not going to change my demeanor. If you're that extreme, if you're calling for the elimination of any group, I don't have any use for you. I think you're a group of idiots, morons, useless. And the president's got to represent all Americans, yeah, and those specific Americans are fucking morons. James says, what is your opinion on the mass euthanasia of furries? No, I am against. See, not a furry, but they don't really bother me. Please, women, just make a sandwich, Father Anderson says. Mister says, no, we can't have you be president because selfishly you won't have time for the gooch. Oh, I don't know. I can juggle my time pretty well. There will be, listen, when I become president, there will be regular acknowledgement of the beauty of anime. Trust me on that. All right, guys. Well, I got to go. Guys, thank you very much for the stream. Now, tomorrow is Free for All Friday. So tomorrow we'll have our No Holds Barred, talk about anything you want stream. That does conclude with the distribution of sticky stuff. So if you can just hold out till tomorrow, that's why those official sticky stuff fanny packs are so important. So you always have a little something extra to hold you over. But tomorrow is Free for All Friday. Thank you for this conversation. Oh, and just so you guys know too, I have bought the domain name, and there will be a website going up for the candidacy here. It's CurtisCandyCommunity.com. There's nothing there yet. I just bought it earlier today. I've got basically programs downloading to the software that I'm going to utilize to make the site itself, WordPress stuff. So I will be putting that online soon, and then people can go in and read exactly what we're talking about all the way through, our take on everything. Thank you, guys. Again, this is a great conversation, and the best part about it is on these, I always end up learning something from you guys too. I mean, seriously, it does. It's a really good feeling. Thank you guys, and anybody that can, make sure you're here tomorrow for Free for All Friday, because it's going to be some quality sticky stuff, guaranteed. Yeah.